Have you ever noticed how numbers seem to follow you, quietly appearing in the most ordinary places, almost as if the universe is trying to get your attention? The time glowing on your phone at 11:11, the total on a receipt landing perfectly at 22:22, the room number you are given on a hotel stay showing up again on your boarding pass. For many, these moments feel like angel numbers, a secret language of the divine slipping through the veil to remind us that we are not alone. Now imagine this. What if those same numbers, those sacred signals, were not only meant for you, but were also woven into the lives of your pets? What if your dog or your cat, the silent companion that shares your home and your heartbeat, was part of this mystical language, standing as a bridge between your everyday world and the unseen? Have you ever noticed your dog starts pacing at the same time every evening, no matter what else is happening in the house? Or your cat jumps onto your bed at precisely 3:33 in the morning, waking you with a soft paw against your face? Maybe every time you look at your pet's collar tag or the vet appointment card pinned to your fridge, the same number seems to appear again and again. These moments may feel random at first, yet when you pause to notice them, a strange pattern emerges, almost as if your pet is part of a conversation you were not aware was taking place. It is a thought that sounds fantastical, perhaps even strange, yet history and spiritual tradition tell us that animals have always carried meaning beyond what our eyes perceive. Edgar Cayce, the man often called the sleeping prophet, spoke of this in ways that many have forgotten. He described animals as spiritual presences, protectors, and even antennas for unseen energies. He suggested that they sense things we cannot, that they reflect the hidden state of our souls. When you place that idea next to the mystery of angel numbers, the connection becomes irresistible. Perhaps your pet does not see numbers as you do, yet through their presence and the synchronicities surrounding them, they may guide you to notice when the angels are speaking. Think about it. The date you adopted your dog, showing up again years later in a moment of grief or joy. The time your cat always wakes you at night, often the same hour, repeating with uncanny precision. The anniversary of a pet's passing, echoed in the numbers you stumble upon on that very day. Could these be coincidences? Or are they divine whispers wrapped in fur and paw prints? In this journey, we will explore that hidden link between angel numbers and the companions we love, drawing upon the forgotten insights of Cayce and the mystical reflections of modern seekers. You will never look at your pet quite the same way again, and perhaps you will begin to notice the sacred patterns that have always been there. Stay with us, and let us uncover together the secret language your pets may already be speaking. When most people hear the name Edgar Cayce, they think of the great prophecies, the medical readings that baffled doctors, or his visions of Atlantis rising from the depths of memory. He is remembered as the sleeping prophet, the man who would close his eyes, slip into trance, and speak truths that seemed to pour from a higher source. Yet tucked away among his thousands of readings lies a gentler, quieter thread, one that reveals how deeply he believed animals share in the spiritual currents that guide our lives. Cayce spoke of animals not as simple creatures of instinct, but as presences that could protect, guide, and reflect the souls of the humans they lived beside. He described them as sensitive instruments, picking up vibrations we often overlook, standing as a bridge between the visible and the invisible. In one reading, he suggested that animals often shield children, absorbing disturbances that might otherwise touch a child's tender spirit. Many parents know the comfort of seeing a dog settle by a crib or a cat curl protectively at the foot of a child's bed. But Cayce pushed this further, hinting that animals do not simply offer warmth, they carry a spiritual assignment, a task woven into their bond with us. He also described how animals could reflect the state of their owner's inner life. A restless pet, pacing without reason, might mirror hidden anxieties in the household. A dog that grows ill after its owner suffers loss or grief could be carrying part of that burden within its own body. In Cayce's view, animals and humans were never fully separate, but entangled in a subtle exchange of energy and spirit. Your pet's moods, health, even sudden changes of behavior might reveal more about you than you realize, Most striking, Cayce likened some animals to antennas, receivers tuned into frequencies beyond ordinary perception. Anyone who has seen a dog bark at an empty corner of the room or a cat fix its gaze on something unseen knows the feeling that our companions sense what we cannot. Cayce believed they pick up vibrations from other realms, attuned to the ripples of spiritual forces just outside our awareness. They stand at the edge of two worlds, grounding us in this one while brushing against the next. In this way, Cayce laid the groundwork for an understanding of pets not merely as companions, but as spiritual messengers. They are sensitive, protective, intuitive, and deeply connected to the human soul. When we now turn our eyes toward the mystery of angel numbers, it becomes easier to imagine how pets might help guide us into noticing them. If they can sense and mirror energies invisible to us, then perhaps they also play a role in drawing our attention to the patterns and numbers that slip in from the divine. To consider this possibility is to see your pet in a new light, not only as a loyal friend, but as a participant in the sacred dialogue between heaven and earth. Edgar Cayce never spoke the phrase angel numbers, yet the way he described animals as messengers of unseen realms invites us to expand the thought into new territory. Modern seekers recognize repeating numbers as a form of divine communication, symbols meant to reassure us, guide us, or awaken our attention to hidden truths. If our pets stand at the threshold between the physical and spiritual worlds, then perhaps their lives and our shared experiences with them carry patterns of numbers that are not random at all, but intentional markers of meaning. Consider how often numbers thread through the life of a pet. The date of their adoption, etched into paperwork that seemed unimportant at the time. The hour they first arrived at your home, remembered only because it felt like the beginning of a new chapter. The day they crossed over, fixed forever in memory. These dates are not simply markers on a calendar. They are woven into the story of your bond. When these numbers rise again in your life, when they appear on receipts, clocks, or addresses, they may be more than coincidence. They may be the voice of the unseen, reminding you of the sacredness of that connection. There are also the subtler moments. The dog who consistently wakes you at the same hour, night after night. The cat who insists on sitting by the window each day, just as the clock strikes a familiar pattern. Even a bird that lands on your balcony at precisely 2:22 may be weaving itself into this mystical conversation. These repetitions invite you to pause and ask what message is being given, for in the quiet logic of angel numbers, nothing repeats without purpose. Angel numbers each carry a resonance. When one appears in the life of your pet, or in connection to them, it becomes layered with meaning. The number 111 often speaks of beginnings, of thresholds into something new. For a pet, this may echo the joy of adoption, the healing that comes after loss, or even the first steps into a deeper bond between you. The number 222 hums with harmony and partnership, a gentle reminder that your relationship with your pet is part of a greater balance, a soul contract carried across time. The number 444, is often seen as protection, a sign that the unseen is standing guard. When it surrounds your pet, it may remind you that they are not only under your care, but watched over by forces greater still. Other numbers weave further stories. 555 signals transformation, a change in the rhythm of your bond, perhaps a move, a new stage of life, or the adjustment that comes as both you and your companion age. 777 often points to spiritual insight, a reminder that your pet's presence is not ordinary, but a mirror of divine truth, guiding you toward awakening. Even the number 999, often seen at moments of completion, may arise around the time a beloved pet departs, not as an ending, but as a gentle whisper that the bond has simply shifted into a new form, continuing beyond the veil. It is important to remember that the numbers themselves are not confined to calendars or clocks. They may surface in small, ordinary ways, yet leave a trace that feels extraordinary. A microchip ending in 111, a medication dosage that repeats a familiar sequence, the exact weight of your dog at a checkup, aligning with numbers you have seen in prayer or meditation. Each of these can become a thread in the greater tapestry, nudging you to see the hand of the divine moving quietly through your daily life. When we frame this through Cayce's teachings, the idea gains a deeper resonance. If animals are mirrors of our soul, if they act as receivers of higher vibrations, then the patterns tied to them are not random, but messages interwoven with our own spiritual journey. Your pet may not see numbers as you do, yet through their presence they can guide your awareness toward them, as if pointing gently with invisible paws and whispers, reminding you to look closer. To notice these patterns is to enter into a dialogue. It is to allow the universe, the angels, and the soul of your pet to speak in harmony. Numbers that once seemed meaningless suddenly glow with significance, drawing you into a mystery that is both personal and eternal. In learning to read this new language, you do not only honor your pet, you honor the sacred bond that unites all beings, a bond Cayce believed stretches from the humblest animal to the highest angel. When you begin to notice these patterns, a new kind of dialogue opens between you and your pet. It is subtle, often so gentle that you might overlook it if you are too caught up in the rush of life. Yet once your attention shifts, once you allow the possibility that your pet is part of a divine conversation, the messages become impossible to ignore. Pets have always been more than companions. They are mirrors, guardians, healers, and sometimes they are vessels for messages too delicate to reach us in any other way. Numbers, repeating with persistence, may be one of the ways this truth finds its way into our awareness. Take, for instance, the story of a woman who lost her golden retriever after 13 years together. The dog passed away on the 11th day of November, and in the weeks that followed, she kept seeing 1111 wherever she went. It was on her receipts, on the microwave clock, even stamped onto a street sign she passed on her commute. At first it felt like coincidence, yet soon it carried the unmistakable weight of a presence. She described it as if her dog was still by her side, reassuring her that their bond had not ended, but only changed its form. Each 1111 became a reminder of love that had not vanished, but transformed into something eternal. Another man spoke of his cat, a sleek grey tabby who had the peculiar habit of waking him at 4:44 every morning. No matter how he changed his routine, the cat seemed to know that exact moment. It was frustrating at first, until he stumbled upon the meaning of 444 as a number of protection and angelic presence. In time, he came to see his cat's nightly ritual as a sign that both of them were being watched over. Instead of annoyance, he began to feel gratitude. What once felt like a disturbance became a sacred appointment, a reminder that unseen guardians were near. There was also a family who adopted a rescue dog. They noticed that the dog's shelter number ended in 222, and over the years, that number began to follow them. They found it on house numbers when searching for a new home, on ticket stubs during a family trip, even on the tag of a jacket gifted to their child. To them, 222 came to symbolize harmony and togetherness, a divine echo of the dog's role in knitting the family closer than ever before. Each appearance of the number was like a blessing, affirming that the decision to adopt had set them on the right path. Stories like these may sound small, yet they carry deep emotional resonance. They suggest that pets are not simply receivers of our love, but participants in the sacred patterning of our lives. Angel numbers, when tied to them, become messages not just of divine guidance, but of the profound connection between souls, human and animal alike. These numbers may call you to pay closer attention to your pet's health, urging you not to ignore the signs when something feels off. They may arrive in moments of transition, reminding you to cherish the time you have, or to see in your grief a doorway to deeper understanding. They may even come as a gentle nudge that your pet, long after leaving this world, continues to love and guide you in ways unseen. The deeper meaning lies not in the number itself, but in the recognition that life is far more connected than we usually allow ourselves to believe. To see 555 around the time your pet's behavior shifts may remind you that change is part of the bond, that you and your companion are growing together. To encounter 777 when sitting quietly with your cat may awaken the realization that this bond itself is a form of spiritual teaching. Numbers are symbols, yet when they appear in connection with our pets, they become living metaphors, carrying the voice of something higher. This is the aha moment, when the ordinary becomes extraordinary. What once felt like random patterns suddenly glows with meaning. You look at your dog or your cat and realize they are not simply living alongside you, they are speaking with you in a language older than words. In those moments, you begin to understand what Cayce hinted at, that animals are more than instinct and companionship, they are bridges. They carry across love, healing, and now perhaps even numbers, whispering messages from the divine, wrapped in fur and feathers. When you step back and look at all of this together, something profound begins to emerge. The bond between humans and animals is not just sentimental, it is spiritual, part of a vast and sacred design. Edgar Cayce spoke of animals as protectors and reflections of our souls, as antennas receiving vibrations that slip past our ordinary senses. Modern seekers speak of angel numbers, repeating patterns that whisper of guidance from beyond. When you weave the two together, you begin to see that your pet is not merely walking beside you on this earthly path. They are participating in a divine conversation that stretches from the seen into the unseen. This realization asks you to slow down and watch more carefully. Notice the dates, the times, the patterns that form around your pet's life. Pay attention to when the same numbers begin to surface again and again. It may be the anniversary of their adoption, reappearing when you most need comfort. It may be the hour they wake you, echoing a message of protection or guidance. It may even be the day they leave this world, resurfacing years later as a quiet reminder that they are still near. These are not coincidences to be dismissed, but sacred signals to be honored. Begin to treat these moments as invitations rather than accidents. Keep a journal, write down when and where you noticed the numbers, and reflect on what was happening in your life at that time. You may be surprised by the patterns that emerge. Over weeks and months, a language begins to form, a dialogue between you, your pet, and the divine. Each repetition carries weight, not only for the message itself, but for the bond it affirms, the connection that is deeper than time or space. And as you recognize these signs, something within your relationship changes. You no longer see your pet only as a companion in the physical sense. You begin to see them as part of your spiritual journey. Their presence becomes a form of guidance. Their quirks a kind of teaching, their life story, a thread woven into your own destiny. Cayce once suggested that animals and humans evolve together, and in this light, every paw print, every wagging tail, every moment of silent companionship becomes evidence of that shared evolution. So I invite you now to begin watching with new eyes. Pay attention not only to your pet's behavior, but to the numbers that gather around them. Listen for the whispers in the ordinary moments, for often that is where the extraordinary hides. And if you discover these patterns, if you find that the universe is speaking through the life of your companion, share your story in the comments. Others too are waiting to hear, and together we create a community of seekers who honor the sacred bond between humans, animals, and the unseen. Perhaps the angels speak not only in numbers, but through the rhythm of paws against the earth, through the purr in the night, through the loyal gaze that meets yours across the room. Your pet is not only your friend, they may also be your messenger, reminding you that love in all its forms is eternal,